Hey, 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 welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you're hanging out with me today. I'm Dr. Celeste Owens. I'm author and speaker, and I get the awesome privilege of leading what we call the Global Surrender Movement. And I say that surrender is doing God's will, His way, all the time. And might be easy to say, but not always easy to do. So I'm so glad you're hanging out with me. And every time we hang out here at YouTube, thank you again for coming on in. It's just an opportunity for us to grow, to come in. The Surrender Break Room is a place to come in, relax, regroup, and then re-engage the world with a whole new perspective. So isn't that cool? So I want to encourage you today about expecting, really expecting God to show up in an amazing way in your life. And there's just this power in expectation. There's this power in believing that something really can come true, really can be possible. So that's what I want to encourage you today. And I feel like I've been a broken record for the last couple of weeks because I feel like I kind of been on the same subject, but it's just in my heart to keep sharing it with you. So I'm so glad you guys are coming in, Christy and Keisha. Welcome to the Surrender Break Room. And again, I'm Dr. Celeste Owens. I'm here every single Tuesday morning. But if you're catching it by replay, that's awesome too. Please just make sure you like and subscribe. Hey, Monica, and share this with other people. Let them know that you've been blessed by it. So we're talking today about the power of expectation. The power of expectation. How many of you are expecting something? Not how many have prayed and worried and wondered if it could happen and not so sure. Because when you're doing that, you're in your own way. You're just in your own way. You're blocking the blessing that really wants to show up to you, but it only can show up through you believing, through you expecting. So how many you're expecting? I know baby girl. I know who Keisha is. Keisha's like, it's little baby girl from Periscope. I know my Periscope family came and hang out with me here. So glad you guys are hanging out. Hey, Gina. So how many of you are expecting something? Show of hands. Well, I can't see you, right? So pop it in the chat if you're expecting something. Even if at this point you're expecting it not to happen, just what are you expecting? So let me give you a couple examples. Um, Okay, so there's two things happened this week, in the past week. So that's why I wanted to come back and talk about this topic because two things happened that were pretty amazing. So, like Christy, we're all expecting something. So I have been um, a couple different things. So let me tell you one that's really, really pretty cool. So I was expecting my dryer to be delivered. How many know when they say they're going to deliver something, whether it be a dryer or some other kind of major appliance or big furniture piece, they give you like that window of time? We'll be, for some reason, I'm always on the back end of the window. Who gets to go first? Who gets to go first? But you know what's interesting? When you expect to be last, you're going to be last. You know, I'm just preaching to myself right now. I don't know if anybody else is getting this, but when you expect to be last, you're going to be last. You shall have what you decree. You shall have what you believe. So I always would say, man, you know, I would say at the end all the time, man, when they get that window, I'm always the last one on that window. And guess what? I would always be the last one on that window. But this time, I had to get out the house. So they gave me a window. And instead of, and you know, I was about to say, Endel, oh, here we go again. And it just came to me, no, expect to be on the front end of the window. I'm like, okay, okay. So I was like, I'm going to pray. And I'm going to expect to be on the front end of the window. So I just say a prayer and I asked Leah, I'm like, Leah, say a prayer with me. And she's like, that's another story. I was like, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and say a prayer for myself. And I just said a simple prayer. Oh God, you know, we have somewhere to be. Would you just let them come at 1:30? And then I said the prayer and I left the prayer where it was and I went about my business. I didn't pray and then worry. So why are you going to pray and worry? I just prayed. And there was still a little piece of me that was like, you really think you're going to get the 1:30 window? But I wouldn't even let that little piece get a foothold. I wouldn't meditate on what that little piece was saying in my head. Because you got like, you remember back in the day, they had like the image of the angel and the devil on the shoulders of people, back at old TV. So, you got that little voice that's like, it ain't going. I'm like, whatever. So I just went about my business. Do y'all know my doorbell rang at 1:33? And I was like, who's that? Totally forgot. Who's that? And I open the door. I'm like, yes. And I see they have this big truck. And I'm like, it's just a plain truck. Yes. Dryer delivery from Lowe's. What? And that's how I know the time. 'Cause I looked, I was like, 133. I'm the first delivery. Woo! I'm telling you, the power of expectation. I was pumped all day. I'm like, I was the first delivery. I believed, and then it became so. I was the first delivery. And my dad used to always say, you guys, some of you might have heard him say this. When you pray and God answers your prayer, why are you surprised? I got to tell you, I was surprised. I even told the guy who was delivering, I was like, y'all came at the first, I got the 1:30 to 5:30. Y'all came 1:30. He's like, yes. Oh, the power of expectation. I love it. Minister Deborah says, I'm expecting that my granddaughter will be healed completely. Expect that thing because it's already confirmed in his word. So expect that she will be healed completely. Expect it. So what are you expecting today? I expected a dryer delivery at 1:30, said a prayer, left it alone, didn't worry about it, didn't ruminate on it, just went about my business. And sometimes if you're having a hard time believing something that you prayed, just go into a space of gratitude. Gratitude just changes the game. So if I'm in a space where I'm worrying, I say, well, God, I thank you because, and I just start thinking about all the things I'm grateful for. All the things I'm grateful for, right, Marcus? Just give it all to God and leave it alone. Don't sit there and ruminate on it. Because my friend Sharice, I saw she put this up on social media a couple days ago. She said, what did she say? What you focus on grows. Yeah, what you focus on grows. So if I kept focusing on, I'm always the last one, then I'm going to be the last one. So let me tell you another story. Now, this one hasn't come to pass so much, but I've seen some manifestation of it. So I visit this lady each week who had a stroke, who used to attend, I mean, still attends our church, but she couldn't attend in person because she had a stroke. So I would just go visit her. So I was telling her, I was like, my daughter used to really be a prayer warrior, but then once we had so much death in the family, like the last 2 years, you guys know, it was less than 2 years. We had 5 people pass away. Three of her grandparents, two of her aunt and her uncle. So by the time of all of that, she was just kind of like, I don't, God is mean, and I don't know why He would let this happen, and especially because my sister, she's like my sister. I mean, it's her aunt. Sorry. Brandy had a little boy, so she's just like this immature approach to God, which makes sense. She's only 14 and she's still learning. So we totally validate her feelings, but because of that, she's not really into prayer anymore. So anyway, let me tell you the power of expectation. So I was just more worried about it, like, oh, this girl don't want to pray. And God's just like, stop. It just kept coming to me, stop being afraid. Stop being afraid. Just leave it alone. So then I'm visiting Christine and I'm telling Christine the story. Like, oh, Christine, Leah used to be a prayer warrior. And Christine was like, don't worry about it. Just pray that she wants to pray again. It's like so basic and awesome. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to pray that she wants to pray again. So I'm just going to stand in the gap for her and pray that she becomes encouraged. So I just prayed, Lord, I don't know how you go. I didn't say this, but that's what I'm thinking. But Lord, just help Leah to want to pray again. Please, God, just put in her heart to really want to seek you and to pray again. That's all I did. So I prayed that with Christine. We prayed it, agreed, touched and agreed. And then the next day, Leah and I are driving down the street. I'm telling you, this is so amazing how God works. We're driving down the street. Dun, 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 dun. All of a sudden, she's like, you saw that sign? I said, I didn't see it. What? Oh, the sign said God is listening. I was like, where? She's like, it was back there, like some kind of TV. It was like a TV. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, oh my goodness. Then yesterday we're watching TV. What show are we watching? It wasn't even a religious show. Oh, Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. Um, and it was the scene where the guy from the military, in the wheelchair, Captain Dan, says, do you believe in, or have you found Jesus for us, or something like that? And then he says, Forrest is pretty much saying, like, somehow it comes out, one of them says, God is listening. And I looked at Leah, I was like, God is listening. She's like, yeah, I know. Why did he say that? I'm just saying, OMG, the power of expectation. So I know real soon it's coming. That girl gonna be back to being a prayer warrior, because God is just showing up. He just needs us to get out of the way, not to be afraid, to pray, to believe, to release it, and watch him work. Watch him work. Watch him work. That's it. So I am just so excited. So I hope you guys are encouraged. It's the power of expectation. Believe in him to do just as he said. Just as he said. So what are you expecting? Put in the chat, comment, like and subscribe, and let me know. And then last comment, baby girl said it will come back, and excuse me, not immature. It is immature, Keisha. And immature, not in a negative way, but immature as in spiritually immature. Because once we continue to grow spiritually, it's not that we don't get sad, but we have this anchor. God has this anchor hold, and we have this rooted in this groundedness in him, that we know with all assurity that he's working out for our good, and we're not going to step away from him. So when we step away from him, that's what I mean about spiritual immaturity. Not in a way that condemns or shames anyone, but just, we're all growing. And there's been a time when I remember when I was spiritually immature, and I came to my dad and I was mad about not getting into a doctorate, pre-doctoral internship. And I was telling my dad the story and how I had applied to these places, and I don't know why God didn't let me get in. And my last statement was, and I'm trying not to be mad at God, like my daughter's mad at God, trying not to be mad at God. And my dad's like, what? And my dad was super mild-mannered. He died last year, but he was super mild-mannered all the time. And all of a sudden, he like raised his voice at me, and I'm like shocked, like, you don't have a right to be mad at God. God has done so much for you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to hang up the phone now because you just hurt my feelings. But it was just one of those moments I never forgot, because it was one of those moments when that experience shifted me from, when God doesn't do what I want him to do, I'm mad, to God has my best interest in mind. And if he closed the door, I'm going to be okay. So that's where I want her to get to. And I'm praying she gets there at a young age. At that point, I was probably like late 20s, but again, doesn't mean you won't be disappointed, but it means that you can see through this different lens. And I want to help her to get there, and God's helping her to get there too. Yep, sometimes you get angry, absolutely, but being able to make that turn and that shift quickly is maturity. Is maturity in Christ. So, love you guys much. Stay surrendered for life. There's no other way to live. Tomorrow I'm going to be on Instagram Live and Facebook Live doing my segment. There's an oil for that. There's an oil for that. So stay tuned for that. And if not, just make sure you come back here next week, and can't wait to share with you more. Be blessed, you guys. Love you much. Bye-bye.